You're listening to Pole Parlour, a fun, inspiring podcast for all those bewitched by pole dance. Each week, your Madam Crimson Minxxx has candid conversation with unique, engaging individuals from within and around the pole dance community. Pole Parlour is passionate about preaching creativity, soulful sensuality, and empowerment through pole dance. You know how we do. Welcome everyone to Pole Parlour. This is episode 53, Ava Hennessy. I'm your host, Crimson Minxxx. This week on the podcast, we have Irish pole dancer Ava Hennessy. On this episode, we talk about Ava's transformation from being scared to even take a pole dance class to working professionally as a stripper. How pole dance helped her conquer her body confidence and self-love issues. And we chat about her TABOO Pole Show, which is a showcase she created to celebrate the sexy side of pole dance. And as always, check out Ava's post-podcast interview on the blog at poleparlour.com, where she shares her favorite photos, music, video, and more. And if you're enjoying these episodes, it would be really rad if you'd leave a review on iTunes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and share with your pole homies. And now, here's Ava. Welcome, Ava Hennessy, to the Pole Parlour podcast. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for joining us from Ireland.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're most welcome. So let's jump in with the questions we ask everyone. For how long have you been poling, and how did you first discover pole dance?
I think I started pole dancing in 2013, and I always feel really bad when I'm like, I think, because I always see, people putting up on Facebook, it's like their pole anniversary, but
Ish.
Yeah. It was probably 2010. I had found a YouTube video. It was Felix Kane, her 2006. Yeah, everyone's seen it.
Yeah.
And I was like watching it, and I didn't understand what was going on. Like, I didn't know if she was in a strip club. I didn't know that pole dancing was even a thing. So I remember watching it and obviously being like amazed and, trying to figure out where she was. So I started Googling things, started Googling her name. And then I was like, oh, cool. Like, pole dancing is this way that you can get fit. But where I lived at the time, there wasn't any.
Where was that?
Pole dancing. It was in the west of Ireland.
Okay.
So it's very kind of rural, kind of country town. So we didn't have any studios. There's one now, but there wasn't one in 2010. So I moved to Dublin the following year, and straight away I was like, I want to, learn how to pole dance. But I was so nervous. I think I had an idea of what pole dancing was. I thought it was going to be like, really kind of, I didn't think it would be as friendly as what it is. So I didn't have any dance background really. I did some dance growing up, but I never stuck at anything. And I wasn't in any way fit. So I was like looking it up. I found Arlene Caffrey's studio.
Yay, we love Arlene, past guest on the podcast.
Yes. So I found the studio. It actually took me 2 more years before I was brave enough to even message her and ask her if I could. Yeah. So I think I may have messaged her and then chickened out and then didn't go. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it. And I went in and I nearly didn't go. Like, I was trying to find every excuse not to go because I was so nervous. I was like, oh, well, it starts in like an hour. The traffic's really bad. So, I might not make it in time.
Wow. Little did you know.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's been on and off since then. I haven't been consistent. I always took breaks, probably consistently for the last 2 years, but I would have started in 2013.
Okay, so I'm glad you finally went and realized at the Irish Pole Dance Academy is the name of the studio. And so I know that you began stripping. So that was after you started poling. Because that's not always the story. So a lot of people start stripping and then they realize there's a pole and then they want to learn how to do things on it. That's been all of our past guests' experience. So you have the opposite experience, which I thought was really interesting to have you on and talk about, is that you started poling and were like, I can do this in a strip club. So can you take us on that journey from like you were scared to walk into a pole studio to
stripping?
Yeah.
So it's something that I was curious about. When I mentioned earlier, when I saw Felix's video and I wasn't sure if she was, I couldn't wrap my head around what I was watching. I didn't realize there was pole dance competitions. The only time I'd ever seen somebody on a pole would have been on TV, like in a strip club or whatever. So I was always curious. And then when I moved to where I am now, I live in Galway. I didn't have a job and I noticed that there was a strip club here, and I kind of just thought about it for a while. But again, I was like, oh no, I'll do something else. Like I don't need, I never thought that I would start stripping. But I was still always very curious. So it was over a year ago, I was working for a big company. I won't say what company it was, but it was a big technology company.
Oh, okay.
And I was so unhappy doing the job. I was like getting up in the morning and I was just crying because I just hated the work.
I feel like we've all been there before. Yeah, that's an awful feeling.
Yeah. And I was just feeling really sick. And then like I was, just having like these random crying episodes throughout the day. So I had to like sit down and talk to myself and be like, what are you doing? There has to be more to life than getting up every day and doing a job that you're not happy with. So I quit and I didn't have any backup. I was just like, I just need to get out of here. I'd given a month's notice, because they told me if you give a month's notice, you can always come back. But if you just quit like now, then it's very unlikely that we'll ever take you back again. So I gave my month's notice and I think I got to 4 days and I was just like mentally
checked out.
Over. Yeah, I was like, I can't do this. So I quit and I didn't have any backup. And then I met a really good friend of mine now. Her name is Katrina. And she told me that she worked in the strip club here. And I was like, okay, like I've thought about it before. And, I was like asking her all these questions because in Ireland, stripping is really different to in a lot of clubs in America. We're very similar to the UK as in, there is pole dancing, but we don't get tipped for pole dancing.
Yeah, so, what's it? Do you get I know in Canada they get like they get a set amount for their stage show plus they get tips, and then here I know that's not the case. So how does it work in Ireland to get paid?
So the only thing that you get paid for in Ireland is private dances.
Oh, interesting.
There is pole dancing involved, but that's more like a selling point for you. That's how you get your private dances. So
you don't get tipped for the pole dancing, and you don't get paid by the club to pole dance.
No.
That is just kind of like you doing your marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's like that in a lot of UK clubs as well. And I think it's because of our money. I know that a lot of, you have dollars, whereas we have, in Ireland, we have euros and they're coins.
Yeah.
So, people could tip you if they wanted to, but there just isn't a huge tipping culture in Ireland anyway.
No, I've been to Dublin and it was so weird to me that like you didn't tip the bartenders and I was like doing it anyway, but apparently that was not normal.
Yeah, because even in bars and stuff, they'll have tip jars, but it's not like, I don't think it's overflowing. People will put money in there, but it's not
your culture to do that. Totally.
Yeah. So, because I had never been in a strip club, I had only seen it from TV. I was like, oh, so, asking her questions, I was like, do you get, paid for pole dancing? That's how I had it in my head, that you'd walk in and there would be poles everywhere. And she was like, no, we pole dance, but that's not what you're paid for. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I was just scared. It was the fear of the unknown. It was like, oh, so it's not pole dancing. I have to go and give private dances. And that was really scary to me because I hadn't, done anything like that before. So she was, saying, why don't you just try one night? You don't have to stay after that night, just see how you like it. And if you don't like it, or you feel like when you get there that you just don't want to be there, then no one's going to make you stay. Like, it's not like they're paying you to be there.
Yeah,
so
you didn't sign a contract or anything.
Yeah. So yeah, I went and I tried it out, and I made, I don't know, beginner's luck. I made a few hundred on the first night, and then I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this for a while and see how it goes. Yeah.
So do you feel like your stage show with your pole helps people want to hire you to do the private dances? And then what is involved in the private dance? Let's be real.
Yeah. So in the particular club that I work in, there is, I wouldn't say it's backwards, but again, the culture is different. We wear dresses on the floor.
Okay.
And I think the whole idea is, maybe if people come in and see us in lingerie or in tiny outfits, that they won't want to pay for private dances, because that's the only way that we make our money. So it's topless dances, and they are not exactly lap dances. We're not actually allowed to give a lap dance.
Oh, okay.
But you can still be very close to the customer.
Okay.
So when I had started, I was too nervous to talk to anybody. Like, all these men were coming in, and I was kind of like sitting there like, don't talk to me. Like, I didn't want to talk to anyone. I just, again, it was the fear of the unknown. And even when I had been searching things online, because I'd only ever seen American clubs, on TV or whatever, I was looking for a blog, my first night stripping or something, just to get like an idea of what it's like when you go in.
Yeah.
And all of the blogs were American blogs as well. I couldn't find anything even from the UK for some reason. Maybe it was the way I was wording it, but I was just really didn't know what to expect. So I was just sitting there, didn't want to go. And then it was another girl who had been talking to a group, and they could pick another girl to go in, as in like a double dance.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of went in with her. And it was strangely comfortable for me, because I had an agreement before I went that if I went in and I was completely horrified by it, I wouldn't go back. If it was something that I was deeply uncomfortable with, then I wouldn't go again. I would just, start from the beginning and just look for another job. But yeah, I was really comfortable with it, and I didn't mind taking my clothes off. It was just, it's a job in another way. You're just doing it to work.
Yeah. And it's a private room, or is it a big room? Okay.
Well, there's two kinds of dances. I think it's the same in a lot of clubs. One dance is more expensive than the other. One is like a table dance or a distance dance, and then one is a closer dance.
I've always wondered that, because table dancing happened, I believe, before, at least here in the US, before the private lap dances. So what is the difference between a table dance and a private lap dance?
Well, I suppose it wouldn't even be a table dance in our club. It's just a word that kind of gets thrown around. A table dance would be, generally, in some clubs, you have tables with poles.
Uh-huh. So
people might sit at a booth, and then...
Oh, yes. I know what this is.
Yeah, so a girl will get on the pole and dance for a group of guys. I don't know. I'm sure it's different in every club, but for us, it's just a distance dance. So it's not as, close. Whereas and it's in a public room. So, there could be other people getting dances at the same time, which some guys aren't comfortable with. And I can understand that, they might want to have a bit more privacy. So the VIP room would be a private room, and it's a closer dance. It's more personal, because it's just you and one other person, instead of sitting there with a group of people. I mean, money-wise, it is still a sales job.
Yes.
I think a lot of girls might not realize that when they go in, that, it's great to be able to pole dance, and it's really good, if you look good. But a lot of the times it's how you speak to customers that come in, and it's how you're able to sell the dances. There's a lot of selling involved. People, I hear people say all the time, like, oh, it must be easy, or, anyone can do it. And it's like, no.
No,
that's not true. So, yeah, definitely, you could do that if you went for maybe a cheaper dance, but for me, you always try and sell the more expensive one. It's better for you. But if somebody went for one of the cheaper dances, they might then want to go for a more expensive one.
Yeah. It's like your job to talk them up to the next one if you start at the cheaper one. So I'm so glad that you brought up of how your perception of the strip club was that it was just a big room with poles and that it was just like girls dancing and like that's how you made your money. Because I recently had this conversation with Anne-Marie Davies of United Pole Artists. And it is Bringing Sexy Back month, by the way. So it's kind of cool to be speaking with you on that, too, because we're going to go more into sexy pole dance later. But so people wonder, like, oh, why are people confusing pole dance and strip clubs? And why can't people tell the difference? And why do we even have to talk about them at the same time? And you kind of just nailed it right there, where it's like most people do not know the difference. And the funny thing is, the reality is, and your experience was, that it's actually not the same thing. It's kind of like the media sold us on this, because in a movie, if they're going to a strip club, it's way easier to just show a lot of people dancing on a pole and say that's what a strip club is, as opposed to what your experience really is, which is like, oh, you have to come into this back room and you can't really show that in a movie or television. So it's like, we kind of just nailed it right there. There has been this like global perception of what a strip club is, and that it's so inherently focused on pole dancing, when the reality is that's not what it is. And kind of the media sold us on that.
Well, I can only speak for the club that I work in, and I know that other clubs in Ireland are similar. There has to be clubs in America that focus a lot on, pole dancing, and there's obviously big clubs where people throw lots of money on the stage. But I think the reason it's in the media so much is because it looks glamorous, and it's the same when you watch music videos. It looks really cool, and like in my club personally, I don't even do many tricks. I might do one trick. I might go upside down once. I know some girls that do loads of tricks, and that's cool. But for me, I don't feel that that's what sells the dancing. A lot of people that come in are oblivious to what you're doing anyway. So you might do this really cool trick and get really tired afterwards. But the men that are standing there, they don't know any different a lot of the time.
We've talked to past dancers about that, and they say, if you're doing tricks, you're wasting your time because you should be canvassing the floor. And that, in fact, these clubs where the girls are doing their tricks is not traditional. That is recent. And it is because of, I think, it grew with the emergence of pole dance. So
yeah, definitely.
Those clubs where people are throwing the dollars and the girls are doing crazy tricks on the pole, that's a new thing. That's, relatively speaking, in the grand picture of strip clubs. So, and it kind of emerged at the same time as pole dancing. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, definitely. And I know some girls at work that they do crazy tricks, and I'm like, wow, that's so cool. But I also know other girls that make a lot of money that don't do any tricks. They might do one spin and the rest is more kind of sensual dancing around the pole, more floor work. And I think that's just what I started doing. When I went in first, I was like, oh, I need to do all these, moves. But it's gotten to the point now where I might do like a layback and the rest is floor stuff. Because as well, you might have to go for a dance straight afterwards. And you don't want to do like this crazy set. Personally, I don't want to do this crazy set and like be really tired and then sweaty and then have to go
do a dance. Yeah, so let's transition, since you brought that up about doing the sexy dance and how you do still like doing the pole, even if not in the club, because you are creating a pole show. And it's called TABOO Pole Show. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and it's really funny because I didn't have any idea what I was doing when I started this. So there wasn't like no, it just snowballed a bit. But I had an idea because I really like to perform. I really enjoy performing now. And for me, there wasn't any show that I could find that, I could be like, I want to come and dance. We have, variety shows where you might have burlesque, you might have pole, comedy, and it's just a mix of everything. And as well, I know there are some showcases, like Arlene always does the Bringing Sexy Back showcase every year in her studio and stuff like that. But I really wanted, to get some friends together and just throw like a really sexy pole show. And focus a lot on stripper style and exotic dance, because some of the girls that are performing may work in strip clubs, or their style of dance is a lot sexier. So I was sitting at home and I was kind of like, okay, so I want to do this. So I just started sending out messages to some pole dancers that I knew, but some that I had just maybe followed on Instagram, didn't really know them. I just started this big group chat, not even thinking that anyone would even be interested in coming here to do a show.
Little did you know.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden everyone was like, yeah, definitely, we want to go. Arlene is going to perform too. We have Kitty Velour. She's coming from the UK.
Oh, another past podcast guest.
Yeah.
I love Kitty.
I love Kitty. We talk a lot on Facebook. I met her last month in person, but we've been chatting a lot, and I told her, that I was doing the show, and I wanted to ask her advice because I have followed the ELSC, the East London Stripper Collective. They do their show. And I really like the idea of having like the fake dollars, because again, we don't get that over here. We don't get the tipping thing. So I wanted to ask her opinion on the show, and where did they get the money from? Did she mind if I kind of used that idea, because that was the only show this side of the world that I had seen that done. I didn't want to steal something. And she was like, no, go for it. Like, totally, that sounds like fun. I want to come and perform. And I was like, oh my God. So yeah, she's going to come here and she's going to teach workshops while she's here too. So
cool. When is the show, by the way?
It is the 25th of August. So
okay.
Next month.
Was it all by invitation only, or did you have it open?
So I had asked a few girls from Ireland, and then they were all like, yeah, I really want to come. And then when Kitty said she wanted to go, and I had shared the event on Facebook, all of a sudden other dancers from the UK started commenting saying, oh my God, I want to come and dance. And I really couldn't believe it, because I was like, I don't know what's happening here. So I was messaging them and like, do you really want to come? And they were like, yes. So there's still like 2 or 3 people from the UK that I need to confirm. I don't want to say just in case, because they're kind of busy. So, but hopefully.
Wow. So is it going to be at a club, at a private venue? Where is it taking place?
Originally I wanted to have it in a nightclub.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, if I was going to do it, I wanted to do it big, and I wanted to, do it properly. I'm like a perfectionist with everything. So I was like looking up, the inside of venues, thinking, what did I like? But unfortunately, if you're going to have something on the weekend and you can't tell them how much money it's going to bring in, they're not going to close down a nightclub for you to come and do a show.
Yes.
So I was kind of thinking, there is one venue here. It's called 7.
Okay.
They have an upstairs stage area that's normally used for bands. They have live shows and stuff like that. So we're going to do it there.
Cool.
It's a start. I think I was, it's the first time I'm ever going to do a show, and I feel like this is only the beginning. So for me, it was a cheap venue to have. It's a big enough space. The stage is big. It's probably the only place that I could think of that had a big enough stage to fit 2 poles. So for me, it's the beginning, and then after that, hopefully, if it's successful, we can move around and we can try other venues.
But you have to start somewhere, and even if it's starting at a studio, I like putting the idea out there. If people are thinking about these things, that like you don't have to invest a huge amount of money, and don't let that stop you. Find something that works. Start small. And look, you have no event experience. You've never done anything like this before. And you kind of just put out the idea, and people really flock to it because it's something that people want. Yeah.
And I think, and I think that's true, because there is the only even competition that I can think of in Ireland that is, that has a sexy category is pole theatre, and there's classique. But I mean, I would love to even have, I'd love to see Dance Filthy last year. I was like, I really want to go to the UK and at least watch it, because we don't have a lot of those things in Ireland for whatever reason. So I was like, I'd really like, and I just wanted it to really celebrate the sexy side of pole, because that's my favorite style. And I know a lot of people, it's their favorite, but they might not have a lot of opportunity to express it here. Obviously showcases are important, and I love when studios have showcases like Arlene's one. Yeah. But I just wanted more of an event where people from the outside could come and see too, and have more of a fun kind of, it's not just pole dancers. There's people that can come. They might have never seen any kind of pole dancing before, or they might be interested to start pole dancing. A lot of the girls that are, yeah, exactly. And a lot of the girls that are performing, they have studios. So I thought it could be even good for them to promote their businesses.
Yeah. So what is this? Is this a showcase or a competition?
It's a showcase.
Cool. And so what is the vision statement of it? I think you touched on it. It's like a sexy, but did you have like a vision that you wanted to share for overall? It's like celebrating the sexy erotic side of pole dance, it seems like.
Yeah, and the reason I think that's so important is I'm not going to say that Ireland is backwards. It's not. We're getting there, but it is still a very Catholic country.
As I say, it's a conservative Catholic country, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I called it taboo, because, it's a lot of people are kind of afraid to express themselves sexually. And for me, I don't think there's absolutely anything wrong, with showing that side of yourself. It's a natural part of being human. And I know that a lot of countries that may have had a large hold, or, religion has had a large hold over Ireland for such a long time, that people are almost afraid to even talk about sex or, anything to do with it. So for me, it's like, I would just love for it to be a normal thing. People can just come and watch and not feel embarrassed or feel weird about it. Like, you can just go and do it and watch it and enjoy it. And it's normal.
And it seems to me that you're creating what you wanted your experience to be in the strip club that it wasn't, which was a stage performance and using the pole. To bring up my conversation, I talk with Anne-Marie a lot about things because I'm working with her on the Fistful of Steel documentary, but we were chatting about how, her experience with stripping, not to speak for her, but was that she loves being on stage and she loves being sexy. But with a lot of people that become strippers, the downside is the lap dances and the one-on-one dances, and it's not really what the media sold them, or it's not really what they had in mind for what they wanted an experience to be. So I've just had this realization lately that, like, these sexy pole shows, the taboo pole shows and the dance filthies, it's like women who love the idea of stripping, which is dancing sexy on a stage for people and feeling that empowerment and that sexual freedom.
Yeah.
Creating that without having to do perhaps the lap dance, the one-on-one dances, that inherent part of the stripper industry that maybe a lot of people don't connect with as much.
Yeah, and I will say, obviously, I don't feel like I am as creative at work, because you're there to make money. You're there to kind of just go through the motions. And
your sales
it's not
job.
It's not like, oh my God, I can't wait to go and give a lap dance. But I don't not like it either.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people come to the club for different reasons. They might be lonely. They might be there for fun. It could be a stag party. It's, I do enjoy the work. Like any job, it's got ups and downs. So, I like to express myself sexually. It doesn't mean that I'm thoroughly, enjoying a dance, but I'm happy it's a service.
Yeah.
And again, it's a normal thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with anybody wanting to come to the club and watch a woman dance. It's been one of the oldest trades, and it's been around since the beginning of time. But it's not, I suppose, like we said, what I thought it would be. And the whole idea, like you were saying around the show, was to be able to get up there and, I suppose, kind of express myself creatively and dance the way that I want to dance. so yeah, the whole idea behind the show was just to be able to get up and for us to express ourselves creatively, but to be able to, I suppose, celebrate like the sensual side of dance as well.
Yeah, there's something about kind of taking control of your own performance and not having to do it to sell something else, and to be able to like do the costume and pick your music and do the stage show. It's like, I just love this emergence of this like intersectional events that is pole dance, but is like kind of this ode to the stripper, but it's kind of like this, but I come at it from a pole dancer perspective thing. And it seems like that's what you're doing. So wishing you so much luck with it. And I can't wait. I'm going to obviously put the links to everything in the show notes for people to go check out. And again, like you don't come from this background. You're figuring this out as you go. So if you are in a small town where you're like, this doesn't exist, I want it.
Yeah, exactly. I've no experience with organizing any kind of show, but I just have that in me that I am a perfectionist with things. So if I'm going to do something, I want to do it right.
Yeah.
And I know it's the first thing. Things are probably going to go wrong. So far,
sure.
It's been really smooth. You know, I can only imagine what's going to go wrong on the day, but it's all learning. And I've definitely learned a lot already about, you know, where I need to be spending money and, you know, what exactly I need to be putting into the show and how many dancers, you know, because I just got so excited. We have like 13 dancers and I'm like, you know, it's great, but it's all a learning curve. Kitty did help a lot. I asked Kitty for a lot of advice because I know that she was newly running shows as well. Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely a learning curve. Yeah, and I'm enjoying it.
Good. And you're coming from a community, the pole community, which we love. That is a great resource, and we're just so lucky to be part of a community where people are willing to share and help out and partake in things. So I'm thinking you started off this podcast saying how it took you 3 years to get your butt to a pole studio because you were so nervous. And now you're like, I am a stripper and I'm throwing a sexy pole showcase.
Yeah.
What was stopping you in the beginning, and what happened on this journey that got you to where you are today?
If you ever needed an example of somebody who like completely flipped their self-confidence, it's me. Like I grew up and I had no confidence. I was really shy. I like suffered from anxiety a lot when I was younger. I still do a small bit, but you know, I was just really unhappy with my body. I was really embarrassed of my body. People don't believe me when I tell them I was overweight because I was for years. And I wasn't very fit. I tried losing weight in different ways. I tried going to the gym and stuff like that. But I used to have like major hang-ups about my legs, and I would never wear shorts. I would never wear dresses. I would never have my legs out. And I just really didn't like them. So that was one of the reasons, and it sounds so silly, but that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to pole dance, because I was like, oh God, I'm going to have to wear shorts in front of all of these people.
Such a shame, man.
I know, it's silly, isn't it? And I went there, and then I remember even going and like leaving the room to change, which is hilarious now because I'll like go in and just like whip my clothes off. I don't care. So I was really nervous. But then I think you see all these other women and they come in and they're in all different shapes and sizes, and you realize that you're not judging them for what they look like. So there's, you know, no way they're going to be judging you for what you look like, is what I think. So it was like kind of a slow journey. I've definitely lost weight from pole dancing and just like lifestyle changing too, and thinking of my body in different ways. But yeah, I mean, pole dancing definitely helped a lot with body confidence, because I all of a sudden had to do things that I wouldn't do, even just wearing shorts. You know, I would have never done that before. So, and it's silly. Everyone like, I do get compliments on my legs, and people are like, oh, you know, how do you get like those calf muscles, or how do you get like big thighs or whatever? And that's just how my legs have always been. And I never, ever liked them. And people are like, I don't believe that you didn't like your legs. Like I didn't.
Wow. But it was like seeing other people being open and free, I guess. And like, not just thinking, oh, there's this one body shape and it has to be super skinny and it has to be like little legs or tiny waist or, whatever size boobs, whatever. Yeah, I feel this about pole a lot, that people really transform the most in terms of confidence.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really good way to express yourself, but like that, you just get so used to wearing, minimal clothing. And it is so true. And it's funny, when you see things about like the longer you're pole dancing, the less clothes that you wear. It's like you start off in leggings and a t-shirt, and then you move on to like long shorts. And then all of a sudden you're wearing these really skimpy shorts. But yeah, it just became normal to look at my body a lot, because before I didn't like to do that. So, you're in a studio, there's mirrors everywhere. You're wearing shorts. You just get more comfortable with looking at your body. Well, for me, I did anyway. And it just changed my view of how I looked at my body. And I think for women, it's tough, with an idea of how we're supposed to look, because every time you turn on the TV or every time you go on Facebook, you're being sold something to change how you look, whether it's, something to get rid of cellulite or something to lose weight or, lots of makeup or something that you need to, like, have you seen those clip-in teeth? I've started seeing them on it's just like you just clip them over your real teeth so you can take selfies.
Gosh,
I know. And
this is not okay.
And like you see these things, and I think this is fed to you from such a young age too. From when you're a young teenager, you're seeing like shave your legs, put makeup on, change your hair. And I really believe that it becomes kind of a voice in the back of your head that, you need to look a certain way to fit in. And I feel like the best thing that I found with pole dancing is you do meet people from different age groups, different sizes. And I just started to really accept my body for the way that it was, which is so important. I think there should be that's one thing that I never realized that would happen in pole, was that, I would completely change how I viewed my body and how friendly an atmosphere and how supportive it is too. Everyone is like cheering for you to do things all the time. And like, even if you watch a showcase, like the reaction from the women in the audience is just, everyone is like, yes.
Because they can almost see themselves in, that's why your Taboo Pole event, when you have it in this public place and you bring in people from outside the pole community, they're going to see you up there and they're going to say, oh my gosh, she's not a size 2. And oh my gosh, she's doing this amazing, sexy thing. And she's so confident. And they're going to see themselves in you.
And I have had people say that to me before. Like the last performance I did was a few months ago, and I had an idea that I wanted to get pretty naked. I wasn't sure how I felt about it because like that, it wasn't in front of other pole dancers, it was in front of just a lot of different people that were coming to the show. So it's a rule, you have to cover your nipples, but I was like, I don't know, do I want to get my boobs out, do I want to leave them in? I don't know. So I just said I would tape them and then see how I felt towards the end. And then I had like a bit of a wardrobe malfunction where my bodysuit just popped open. And I was like, okay, I just have to keep going with this, like it wasn't supposed to happen. So I just took it off.
Oh my gosh, the universe made the decision for you.
Yeah. And I didn't have any problem in doing it. I felt really good. And afterwards, a few girls came up to me afterwards and they were like, oh my God, like, it's so nice to see somebody up there with curves, and it was really good to see how confident you were in your body. And, I think it's a good thing to see women with different body types being comfortable in their skin, because we don't all look the same. Like you were saying, we're not all a size 2. We have cellulite and stretch marks and everything else, and it's normal. That's a normal thing to have.
And it doesn't mean you're not sexy or you can't be sexy.
Yeah,
or
definitely.
That all of a sudden, like that innate sensual nature is cut off because, oh my gosh, you have a scar, or like, this is, not what I've ever seen. I don't see this on the models in the magazine or whatever. I think it's so important. What you're doing is so important. And I think people with platforms, it's so important to show diversity in body shapes, in colors, in backgrounds, in age when it comes to the pole community, because like we're creating this realistic reality of what what women and men look like, what humans look like, and saying that it's okay.
Yeah,
and
definitely,
you still be sexy as hell, or strong as hell, or bold as well, or demure as well, or artistic as hell. You don't just have to be one way or fit one stereotype, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, I've seen, a lot of plus size women, and they're so sexy. Like, I've seen videos and I'm like, oh my God, that, and it's so refreshing to see it. And like you were saying, though you don't look like the women in the magazines. The women in the magazines don't look like the women in the magazines.
Yes,
everything
true.
is airbrushed and photoshopped. It's important to just be comfortable in your skin. And I do think that like sexy is up here.
Yeah.
Like it's a feeling, and it's for everyone. It's not just for people that are a certain size or color or age. It's for everyone. If you can tap into it, it's so important. And that's why I love pole dancing, because that's how I tapped into that part of myself, and that's how I started expressing, that side of dance. And actually, when I started pole dancing, I didn't start in heels. I didn't own a pair of heels until maybe 2 years ago. And I really liked a lot of contemporary dance. I still do. I like any kind of dance that you have an emotion. I think that's important. So whether you feel sexy or sad or happy or whatever it is, it's interesting to watch. So I started with kind of, dancing around the pole, but I was afraid to express myself more like on the sensual side, because I was afraid that people would judge me for it, and I was afraid that I'd look stupid or silly or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I've definitely changed, and I'm still learning about my own style of dance. I'm more comfortable in the way that I dance now, and sometimes I will dance without heels, but yeah, definitely it's really helped me to kind of find that part of myself.
Yeah. And I think this is like a perfect challenge for people, since we are in the Bringing Sexy Back month with United Pole Artists. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. If it's something where you're like Ava, or like me, or like everyone's gone through, where it seems like a scary thing for you to try to tap into, but maybe you're ready to experiment with it, this is like the perfect time to maybe try to film yourself, or not film yourself, but just give yourself the opportunity to explore some sexy pole dance and see how it feels and see how it goes. And I think you'll realize you don't look stupid.
No.
It may feel awkward at first, but that's a part of you. So explore it. That's the challenge of this month, and to celebrate that part of yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And I think when you're starting off with any kind of dance, or, kind of dancing sexy, you're going to feel weird and you're going to feel silly. And I think that's important. I think for me, I would just record myself, and even if I felt stupid, I would look at the video afterwards and be like, oh, that actually looked kind of cool.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I'm going to do that more.
That's great advice. Awesome. Wow, what a journey, man, to go from like, I need to find an excuse to not do this, to be like, I'm making a show, and now I'm telling people that the way I felt was absurd, and to have that transformation. Good for you. I'm so happy that
Thank you.
was like, allowed you to blossom into that.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. So let's jump into some of the standard questions, because I think it's going to be a continuation of this conversation. But number one, who is your pole crush?
I obviously knew this question is coming up, and it's such a hard question to answer, because I think most people, like on the podcast, they have so many, and I have so many.
Yeah.
But recently I discovered Heather Williams. From
the US, from Virginia. I know Heather. I just danced with her at PoleCon. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Her and Mia Burks have a workshop called Butter and Filth, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll put a link to that in the show notes, because I think she's kind of emerging right now. Tell us about
Yeah,
her.
she's amazing, amazing. And the competition that she was in, I'm not familiar with the name of it. I think it was the first time I watched it, but I saw somebody share the video and I watched it, and like from the minute it started, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, oh my God, like just the way she moves, she's so fluid. And even if she didn't do one trick, I feel like that would have still been amazing, just the way that she dances. So I shared that video and I like immediately added her as a friend. And then she was like, oh my God, guys, like, thanks so much, for like all the nice things that you're saying. And then loads of people were like, commenting, asking, did she want to come to the UK and do workshops? So I hope that happens because I would love to do a workshop with her.
Oh my gosh. Yes, she is such a sweet girl.
Mm-hmm.
I believe she was a stripper. Don't hold me to that. But
it looks like she was a stripper. I was sitting there. I was like, there's no way she wasn't a stripper.
Yeah, because she moves like butter. And she has a workshop that she's doing right now called Butter and Filth. And I believe she's the butter. And Nia Burks, the also amazing dancer that she's doing the workshop with, I believe is the filth. But they'll have to confirm. Look them up. They're amazing if you haven't heard of them already. So inspirational.
Okay.
Yeah, she doesn't do... I haven't seen her do crazy tricks, but you can't take your eyes off her.
No. Yeah. No, and I don't think even... For me, I'm not really into crazy tricks. I do like, obviously, some tricks. But for me, it's about dancing. Like, I just thought I was blown away by her completely.
Heather Williams. So that's a new one. So thanks for sharing.
Can I just say really quickly too, like besides Heather Williams, I have like a couple. Of course. So Felix Kane, obviously, because she was the first pole dancer I've ever watched. Alethea Austin, Michelle Shimmy, Lux, so many. Eva Bembo, I love her. She was the first person I ever saw with like Russian style dancing.
So different.
There's so many like Rhiannon White, Lauren Elsey. I could go on for the rest of the day. Like I love so many people. Great
group. Always nice to to be able to share that. It's always interesting to hear who people are into. So. Okay, so then next, how would you like to see the pole community evolve over the next 5 years?
I think for me, because I like the sexy side of dance, I would just like to see more sexy dancing. It sounds simple, but I think for me, I would love to have an opportunity to enter more competitions like Dance Filthy or more sexy style showcases. And I know it's been around social media a lot. There has been a huge divide with, the sexy polers and the pole fitness polers. And I suppose when I started, it was more pole fitness. I got into it to lose weight. I didn't think that I would really enjoy the dancing as much as I did. But and I know that you made that video with the origins of pole and, how it did originate in strip clubs. And it would just be so nice to not see that argument anymore.
Yeah, wouldn't it? To stop crediting our amazing, empowered community, to giving credit to like men in India or China hundreds of years ago.
I just think it's
contemporary pole industry. It's like, that is not how that happened. Who's your favorite Malakaham dancer? You don't have one,
Exactly.
But you
that's how I feel.
Probably cite Fania, or you can cite Pantera, or one of Bobby. So yeah, that's a great. Hopefully, in 5 years, we're still not fighting that fight.
Yeah, and even if sexy style dancing isn't your thing, at least just don't be mean about it. You might not like it. There's a lot of styles of dance that I don't particularly. Not that I don't like them; they just don't interest me. But I just don't say anything about them.
You don't try to discredit them.
Yes,
that's the difference. Yeah, it's like just accept things. You don't have to try to discredit something because it's not your cup of tea. If it's
exactly. Cool.
Yeah, good one. I'm with you on that. So I think we shared. I'm going to put your social media in the show notes. I think we shared everything. Is there anything else coming up, or you just started teaching, right? So is that something that we can share real quick? Where are you teaching at?
So it is called the Coven pole dance studio, which is really
that
cool.
name when I saw that. The Coven.
Yeah, it's cool. It used to actually be Arlene's studio. It was called Studio 53.
Okay.
She sold it. The new owner, her name is Adita. And I had done my expert training a couple of months ago. And I had always wanted to teach, like from when I fell in love with pole dancing, I was like, this has to be something that I do for the rest of my life. Like if I can make money doing something that I enjoy, then, you know, it's going to be a good time. So
not working at the computer company.
Yes, the unnamed one.
The unnamed computer global evil corporation. Go on.
Yes. So I had messaged Adita and I just said, you know, I've just done my training. Can I come and maybe shadow a few of the instructors and just get some experience? And she was like, yeah, definitely. And then she was like, look, you know, we might need an instructor soon enough, so the job is definitely yours, which was so nice because I'd never even spoken to her before. She's actually in the video, the Taboo video, and she is going to be dancing in the showcase as well. Cool. So yeah, she was, you know, really nice to just be like, yeah, you can have the job, definitely. So yeah, so I've just started recently. It's very new. But I'm already enjoying it. So,
oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
That's awesome. Like another step in, like, you know, like you said, creating career, jobs, income, whatever it is, your life around doing things that you're really passionate about. That's cool.
Yeah, I made a mental decision when I left my last job. I just decided that I was no longer going to work in an environment that made me unhappy. And I mean, you spend a lot of your life working. Well, you start working when you're 17, 18. I think in Ireland you retire when you're 65. So that's a big chunk of your life that you spend working. And I just looked at it like in a bigger perspective, and I was like, there's no way that I want to spend the majority of my life miserable and waking up crying and feeling sick, because, you know, you have to enjoy your life. So yeah, I kind of just was like not looking back. It was like tunnel vision, like this is what I'm going to do. So
good for you. That's so cool. Awesome. So before we let you go, can you sign off with an empowering message or quote or anecdote?
I don't really have a quote, maybe a message. And
perfect.
I think just with the whole body confidence thing, and it would be to kind of say nice things to yourself, because it's so easy to look at yourself and say, oh, I don't like this, I don't like this. I feel like it's a normal thing that people do all the time, is put themselves down. And one thing that I really found helpful with my own journey in body confidence was making an effort to say nice things to myself. And whether you believe it or not, you're going to start to believe it the more you say it. So yeah, I mean, I would have challenges with myself where I would look in the mirror every day and say, oh, you look really good today, your hair looks good, you know, whatever it is, just to train your mind into thinking of yourself in a positive way. And the more you do that, it just becomes natural.
I think that's a great challenge. Yeah, the mind is so powerful and our words are so powerful. And I know it's like so new agey woo-woo, but it's true. If your immediate thought when you look in the mirror is to put yourself down, like there's something wrong with that. So undo that programming and put something good in there. Yeah,
do it for 4 weeks. You know, have like a 4-week challenge that every morning you get up, you look in the mirror and just say maybe 3 things that you like about your body, and do that every day for 4 weeks. And I guarantee you're going to walk away from that and you're going to feel more confident and, you know, like yourself a bit more. So
yeah. So I love that challenge. I'm going to do that for sure.
And let me know how it goes.
Yes, definitely. Always feel free to reach out to Ava or to me. Would love to hear about it. I'm going to post this in the Facebook group too. So,
cool.
So yeah. And if you guys aren't in the Facebook group, just look it up, Pole Parlour Pole Gang, because we can talk about these things more privately if you want. So yeah, I had to shamelessly plug myself at the end. Sorry. But this was about you. And, thank you so much, Ava, for joining us and sharing your story. I think it's something that, a lot of the things you touched on is relatable for a lot of us. So, it's great to hear your journey.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Pole Parlour podcast. Want more? Visit poleparlour.com for show notes and to link to the Facebook group where you can connect with other poloholics and continue the conversation. Listen to past episodes and subscribe to new episodes on the website, YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. Lots of love, babes. Thanks for listening.